So now that you've closed the chapter on your CS:GO career, how do you look back on it?
Um, Close the chapter. I'm definitely happy with my career, I guess. Obviously, I've made mistakes and stuff, but I continue to learn from them, and I just use them as lessons. And I'm definitely happy with where I'm at right now.
So if anybody doesn't know, Brax was a Counter-Strike player who was banned way back in the day for match rigging. He was 16 years old at the time, I believe, and he played for, who did he play for? I can't remember. Was it Fnatic? It wasn't Fnatic. Who did he play for? But anyway, he was banned for match fixing. It was a really big deal. He was unable to compete in any Valve sponsored tournament from that point. So it kind of ruined his Counter Strike career. Now he says that he is going to be the first Valorant pro player. He was signed to T1 SKT, and he is going to be playing the game, which is cool. He's the first signed pro player. So there's a little backstory on him. I think he's 22 now.
That's quite the feat, especially since the game is many, many months, presumably, away from release. We have a lot to unpack here, Brax. The first thing I'll mention is there's people in the chat right now. I'm sure who will have a lot of questions. Feel free to throw them in there. I'll get to as many of them as I can. But we definitely have to start with signing with T1. That's the organization that you've signed with.
I wouldn't be surprised if he got offers from other teams. I'm not 100% sure exactly if other teams were looking to sign this early, but signing him, I think, is a really intelligent move for any of these teams. Anybody who wanted to pick up a player this early, a lot of people think that it's a joke to sign a player before the game's even out. They probably got him a lot cheaper than they would have if the game came out and he was like really good at it. They also signed him as a content creator, and he has quite an audience on Twitch, as far as I understand. So I don't think this is a bad move by any means on the team.
But let's talk about choosing T1. How did that relationship start? How long ago were you talking with T1 to sign with them?
I think the talks went on for maybe a week or two, but they went really smooth. T1's a legendary esports organization.
T1's incredibly successful on games like League of Legends. I don't know if they're really involved in other team League of Legends or other competitive esports, but I know particularly in League they've dominated the scene for like quite a long time. So
Um, they're like a global organization that represents some of the best players in the world, so I'm just happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke with MK Leo a couple weeks ago. He signed with T1. Of course, Faker's involved. Legendary League of Legends team there. Was
Faker's one of the best League of Legends players to ever exist.
T1
So
always an org that you had your eye on and one that you kind of hoped that you would join eventually one day in your career?
Definitely, yeah. I've always had a lot of respect for them, and I've known them. Even though I've never really followed League of Legends, I've known of them, which tells you like how big they.
I don't know a lot about competition and stuff, but like I'm wondering, like I like that question where he's like, is SKT like a team that you've always aspired to join? I think as like an FPS gamer, is SKT really involved in FPS games as much? Are they involved in Counter Strike and stuff? That sounds like such a weird question because if they're not involved in FPS, I cannot see this ever being a team that Brax would be like, dude, I've always aspired to be part of it. That's more like a PR thing. You can't just be like, nah, like I never really thought I'd join them, but like they offered me money for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe I don't know. I
Were
might
there
be wrong.
any
I
like
might be
what was
entirely wrong.
that process like looking for an org? I know T1 was on your mind. Just take us through the process as much as you can tell us in terms of what orgs you might have spoken with or like what that process was like and finally landing with T1.
I will say T1 was the first org to reach out to me
They were the first. That's interesting. Okay, that's really cool that he signed that early then
since
with
I
such a
announced
good
that I
team.
would be making the switch. But they weren't the only org. I'm not gonna say names just out of like respect and stuff, but there's a bunch. There's probably three or four other top tier one organizations that.
I don't know if SKT. Let's look it up. SKT professional or esports teams. So they've been around for a really long time. They competed in StarCraft, League of Legends. It looks like it's just League, mostly. That's like, I don't know. Oh, they have an Apex one. Okay, so they have Apex, Fortnite, Hearthstone, League, play or PUBG, Dota, Valorant. Um, so that's actually hilarious though. Like that question where it's like, is this a team that you've seen yourself signing on? Yeah, like oh, like I guess it's possible. I'm not gonna count him out. I'll take him for his word. But like to say that like, oh yeah, I've always been looking to sign on to T1. I don't know if that's 100% true. Like, maybe.
How difficult was the decision for you?
It actually was a pretty easy decision. The talks went really smooth, and it just seemed like a really good fit and it made sense, so I went with it.
One thing that I found interesting when I spoke with MK Leo was T1 really told him, you know, we want you to focus on your content, and in fact, we're gonna do a lot of collaborations. One thing he mentioned was
If they're focusing on his content, I'm gonna cut him off there. If they're focusing on his content, then this is probably primarily a content creator sign. I don't know if like it doesn't matter if Brax is the number 1 pro player. We've seen this with things like 100 Thieves, you know? What matters is that he's a big influencer and that he has a big personality in the community. If Brax blows up as a streamer, that is incredible for T1.
I'm
Like-
gonna go to South Korea and I'm gonna do some content collaborations with Faker, for example.
That would be
was any
awesome.
of that kind of thing presented to you? Like, did they say, hey, we want you to collab with MK Leo, we want you to collab with Faker? Did any of that come up when you were talking?
Actually, yeah, it was definitely brought up. You know, there's always the chance that I will go to Korea and, you know, do content with Faker and the other guys. So, you know, I'm definitely looking forward.
Is that something that you would want to do? Imagine a world where you're creating content with Faker. What would it look like?
Honestly, I have no clue, but I'm sure it'd be a great.
That would be so weird too, because Faker's a MOBA guy. I don't know if Faker like has played FPS games or if like FPS is his thing. So to have like Brax, like FPS legend, going to play with Faker, MOBA legend, like how does that mesh up? Is Faker going to be playing FPS games? Is Brax like are they just in the same room that they're hanging out? That would be cool to like see them hanging out and stuff. But like, I don't know, just interesting.
Leo had the idea where he would teach Faker Smash and he would teach Leo League. I guess you could teach him CSGO. or
Yeah,
Valorant.
actually, that wouldn't be a bad trade. I would be up for that.
Have you played much League of Legends?
Actually, I have not. I've probably played maybe 3 games total. So he could definitely teach me a thing or two.
Can you tell us what the full arrangement is? Like, what will a day look?
That's interesting. I didn't actually like process that, but he might be signed for other things apparently, like
like
if it's
for
just
you
Valorant.
and
Because as a creator, he could be doing anything with the team, right?
what is expected of you? I guess from T1.
Well, basically, we don't really know when the game is coming out, right? So until we do know, or until I can get my hands on it, I'll just be making content for CS, basically CS:GO.
So that makes sense. So they don't actually know when Valorant's coming out. So for Brax to be signed to a team this early, what if the game doesn't come out for like a year? Well, how long is his contract? You know, that's like a big question. If his contract's only a year and the game doesn't come out for like another year, then it's just like, okay, well maybe we just sign him for CS and like he promotes us in that way. And I'm assuming they got him for a pretty cheap price for that reason. This might just be like money in his pocket while he's waiting for the game to come out.
Have you had a chance to play Valorant yet?
I have not actually.
Interesting. There were a lot of I guess I don't know who exactly, but there were a lot of CS:GO players that were involved in the creation of the game. Had you had a chance to speak with any of them? Like what? I guess more generally, what do you know about the game in terms of? I've heard it has a lot of similarities to CS:GO. I mean, it even looks like it has a little bit of Overwatch vibes. But what do you know about the game?
Wouldn't that be funny if he just responded to this with nothing? I love Brax smiling. He seems a little uncomfortable, honestly. Like it seems this interview seems a little forced. Like he was like, this is part of joining T1 that he goes on to ESPN Esports and talks to this guy or something. Maybe he just decided to come on. I don't know. It feels like it doesn't feel as like casual as you would hope like an interview to feel. But like he imagine he's like, I don't know anything about the game. This feels like one of those questions where people are like, well, dude, why are you signing somebody who hasn't played the game? He hasn't played the game at all. He's never touched it. So for him to come on and be like the first signed pro player, it's kind of weird where there are professional playtesters who have actually played the game. Those people aren't getting signed, but like Brax comes out and they want to sign him. You know,
I can't share much, but what I do know is I'm confident that my CS:GO skills will make me good.
or it's Timmy was signed for the what's it called? The Golden State Warriors. They have a team. They literally have a League of Legends team. Or they have a TFT team, they have an Apex team, and they have like a league team. I forget what it's called, but
At Valorant, and I think it will benefit CS:GO players the most, more than any other game, and so I am confident in that aspect.
Were you reached out at all, or were you hoping to be reached out to be part of that testing group?
Actually, I did get invited to fly to LA to play test it, and then you know the coronavirus came and fucked everything up, so it got canceled. But I think they will do something online, but I'm not sure. But I'm sure I will get a chance to play test it before it does come out, so I'm excited.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they're giving out playtesting and stuff. It's really crappy that a lot of these people aren't able to play it because of the coronavirus stuff, but they're taking safety precautions and everything with within the company. We're not really sure when we're gonna get an online playtest. I still haven't heard anything about that. They might have already played it for all we know. Maybe it was like a hidden thing.
The obvious question, how early into hearing even about Project A did you decide, you know what, I want this to be my next game of choice? Like, did that decision come to you very early?
I guess it kind of came just from where I was at in CSGO. I've kind of been in the same spot, I guess, for the past couple years, and it hasn't really seemed like it's been getting better or was going to get. Um, it just seemed like very stale, and obviously the band, it seemed like I couldn't reach my full potential, so it kind of seemed like this would be a great opportunity for.
No, this is like a complete second win for him. We've talked about this before. Being banned from like Valve tournaments and stuff. He's very fortunate that he's still in the position right now with the Valorant coming out and like this game getting all this hype that he can actually be in the position to be signed to a professional team like that. Like he has a very promising future for him if he can deliver on this. Like this is really cool for him.
So you played the game, you estimate 22,000 hours. You've heard of the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hour theory, right?
I feel like I have, but
The 10,000 hour theory, and I'm sure he's going to explain it in a second, is that it's just the idea that to really master a skill, it takes 10,000 hours. So if you wanted to learn how to play guitar, to become a top tier guitar player, you would need to put in 10,000 hours. To learn to become a good painter, it would take you 10,000 hours. To become an expert at a video game like CS, it would take around 10,000 hours. He has 24,000 hours, he said, or something like
you
that.
can refresh.
Yeah, so he wrote a book called Outliers, right? And his theory in the book was 10,000 hours is the magic number of greatness. Yeah. Basically, you become an expert at 10,000 hours or the magic number of greatness. And like whether you agree with that or not, just for the purpose of this question, I'm actually curious, like in the second, like let's look at your amount of hours in CSGO, right? From 10,000 to 22,000. If you can even think about that, right? Like I guess the second half of you playing CSGO for that many hours, how much did you feel you like improved and learned in the game after having done 10,000 hours? Do you know what I'm saying?
I feel like you still can learn something literally every day. Obviously it gets like tougher and tougher, but like the game is always changing and the meta is always changing, so you can always learn different things. You can always watch demos and learn a new flash, a new nade, a new strategy. There's always something to learn, but it definitely gets more difficult the more you play, because you start to learn a lot of things.
No, for sure. That's actually that's a really interesting question because it's like after 10,000 hours, if you master something, can you still improve? So does the skill gap from 10,000 hours really show past like 24,000 hours, right? Somebody who's put in the extra 14,000 hours, did they get any benefit? And he's saying that even today, he still learns new things just because the game like evolves over time. I think that's actually really interesting.
Fair enough. Chat wants to get back to Valorant, so let's get back to Valorant questions. When you heard about the game and when you decided that you wanted to become a Valorant pro, how important was it for you to become the first one? Or was that even a care to you?
Honestly, that wasn't a care to me at all. I wasn't really thinking about that. I just, T1 reached out and it just seemed like a really good fit and it made sense. So,
Any opinions on what you've seen so far of the game?
Oh, right. Yeah, the game actually looks really good. I'm excited to play it. There's some things, like some abilities that, I might be questioning, but at the same time, I haven't played it, so I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, and, I'm not really gonna judge it until I do play it, so.
So I've said this about a lot of the character reveals, especially the Sova one that came out today. You need to recognize that when you see these characters with like the wall hacks and like the Viper abilities and stuff like that, when you see these are the most optimal points or like clips of these characters being used. These videos are made to make the characters look good. You don't want to like release a video of Sova using his drone and then just dying, right? That's not going to happen. So they're releasing clips of Sova using his tracking dart, revealing somebody, and then killing them because of the tracking dart. Of course. So then when people see these things, they're like, this is busted. This is stupid in a game. Brax is saying, I've never played the game. I'm not going to determine it. Yeah, I'm a little worried. You're allowed to be a little worried, right? But like to look at a game and be like, this is busted. This does not belong in a competitive shooter. It's like, dude, just give it a sec. Let you like play the game and figure it out then, right?
What was your initial thoughts on some of the abilities? Like there were wall hacks, there was heals. There were some interesting abilities in there. What were some of your initial opinions on the abilities that you saw?
Yeah, so like the wall hack kind of looks suspect. I'm not too sure how I feel about it, and obviously the game can still change. There is still in beta, so anything can change, and nothing's final. But I'm confident in the developers behind them. I know Volcano personally, and
Hmm.
he's from CSGO. So I'm confident that it's gonna be a good game, and I'm just ready to get my hands on it honestly, and just start grinding it. I've heard really good things.
Yeah, so just like knowing Volcano and stuff and knowing the people who work on it, I think is definitely a really nice thing. Where Volcano was a CS:GO pro, and like he's developed a lot, like the map. He developed Cache, which is like one of the best CS:GO maps literally in the game. I think that he did a couple of the other ones. So it's just like knowing that somebody on that team is like working with them, like it'll probably be fine, you know.
Do you have a timeline at all on when you'll be able to play the game or get the game?
I actually don't.
Okay.
I'm in the unknown. I have no clue.
I think it's funny how Riot, like, literally, they even keep a player like this in the unknown. So it's just like a lot of this interview is, do you know? No. Do you like? Are you excited for this? No. Have you seen the abilities? Yeah. They I don't know. I haven't played it yet though. Like,
So you're just hoping. What would the ideal esports landscape look like for you for Valorant?
As far as like the tournament landscape goes,
Or would you like a league format like the LCS and the LEC, or would you like a tournament format, or would
So the way that the league format works is that Riot Games actually runs all the league tournaments with the LCS, and that's all sanctioned underneath the company that runs the game. There's been a lot of critique of this. A lot of people don't like this. Whereas in like games like CS:GO, it seems like, in my understanding, is that a lot of the tournaments are run through like third parties and stuff like that. You'll get tournaments like the Face It tournaments. I'm assuming they do like their own tournaments and stuff like that. I think they like there's like CEVO and stuff, and then there's like a big CS tournament. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I think that's interesting where you can. It was the same thing in StarCraft. StarCraft, like you could go to different tournaments. One of the big issues with this is that if you are under the league for Riot, so I said earlier that Riot can like easily leverage what they have with the LCS to use it for Valorant. One of the big issues with this is if you get banned from a CS, or if you get banned from like a LCS tournament, right? You can't go to any other no. There's no other League of Legends tournaments for people to like really play in for like high tier players. That's like a big issue since the game literally owns the company literally owns the game, so they can do whatever they want with it.
you like a whole or like a multi-month league like Overwatch League? Like, what would be an ideal esport schedule for you?
Right, right. Honestly, I'm not too sure. I'm sure they have plans for what they want to do, and I'm sure it'll work out for the best. I think something like LCS type thing could be really cool, and I think it could work out. But at the same time, the way Valve does it, I think is also cool. They give more freedom to tournament organizers and stuff, so I think both ways have their pros and cons.
What happens if the game is not a success? Like, do you continue on with T1? Would you just keep creating content? What would that relationship look like if Valorant doesn't do well as an esport?
I'm sure I would still just
What does he respond to this question? Hey, if the game succeeds or if the game fails, what do you leave this team, or like what do you what do you want to just like I don't know, the game. I guess I keep creating content and I keep working with the team as best as we can.
make
Like,
content for them, whether it be CSGO or Valorant. Um, but yeah, we definitely would still continue.
what else is he supposed to respond to that question?
Okay, so it's not contingent on Valorant being a success or something like that, is I guess what I'm
Correct,
getting
correct.
at. Okay, cool. Okay, so you definitely have a good, strong relationship with T1,
Right,
which
right.
is a great start. Let's get these are some questions from Twitter. Abraham said, "How are big orgs signing players for professional contracts, and they even put character they're gonna main when the games isn't even out yet?" This is a genuine question.
I think it's more so the fact that T1 just recognized my talents early on, and that's something I'm really grateful for.
I think it's good that they're addressing this question in the interview because this is kind of like the elephant in the room, right? This is why when I talked to Noted, I wanted to address the tweet as well because a lot of people think that this is so idiotic for him to be signed to a team before he's even played the game, before the game's even out. They're thinking that signing players is like really stupid. So just bringing it up directly in the interview and addressing it, I think is a smart move. I like that.
Obviously, there's no other
I'm assuming they might ask him to. Oh, sorry, I
besides
muted.
me, so I think that's a big my talents early on, and that's something I'm really grateful for. Um, Obviously, there's no other players that are signed for the game besides me, so I think that's a big tell in itself. I'm just excited to get my hands on the game and start grinding, amongst the best.
Synestive says, uh, have you excelled in any other game other than Counter Strike? People like Shroud Ninja Dizzy have proven that they are talented in a variety of games and can transfer their talent. Maybe that's more of a content question. Like, will there be content plays for you outside of CS?
Yeah, I'm sure there will be. I have a YouTube channel, I stream on Twitch. I'm sure there will be a lot of opportunities for content, even being on T1 and, being able to make videos with guys like Faker and MKLeo. I think it'd be great.
I don't even think that was primarily a content question. I think that was more just targeted at like, hey, you haven't played other games before. Like you've only reached success on CS. Do you know that you could transfer this skill to another game? That'll be interesting to see. It's a very similar game to CS, but it's not quite exactly the same thing. So there's like again, it's like another one of those questions where like only time will tell. We don't know for sure. But
All I've heard though is that it would be more similar to CSGO than any other game. So that's why I'm pretty confident that.
I think that yeah, Kaplan just said in chat. I was pretty bummed by a lot of the questions in this interview, to be honest. A good bit of repetition on or just surface level questions. I think that and I'm not sure if this just comes from like your classic esports like interviewer. I'm not 100% sure how involved this guy is in the Valorant community, or if he's just like a guy that they sent in to like interview him or whatever. I don't know a lot about the ESPN channel, but these questions don't have answers. Like a lot of the questions that they were asking do not have answers because the game's not out. It's just like the one where he was like, what if Valorant fails? What are you gonna do? It's like, what do you think he's gonna do? He can't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna leave the org." He was signed on as a content creator. He's gonna stick with the team as much as he can, and like he's gonna try to work through it. Or like, what do you think about the game? Like, there's some abilities in it that look scary. It's like, yeah, but like any level-headed person's gonna be like, yeah, it looks a little busted, but like I'm gonna play the game and we'll see how it is. Like, I haven't played the game yet. It's like, oh, well, what do you think? Do you think you're gonna be good at the game? I might be. I hope so. Like, I don't know I don't know what other response there is to it, right?
That will be great at it. Yeah.
It's hard. I would have focused more on Brax as a personality. That's what I was thinking. How would I because I don't want to just sit here and like bash on it, right? Like that doesn't do any good. But I was wondering, hey, if I were to do this interview with him, I wonder how I would do it in a way that I think that it would go a little bit more smoothly or be a little bit more entertaining. And I think I would have focused more on like Brax as a person, because I think if you talk to Brax, I bet he's a very interesting person who's gone through a lot of crap at a very early age. He was involved in the match fixing and everything, which is a very like big part of his life. He was banned from Valve tournaments so early on. He had so much potential, and that kind of screwed him over. This is a second chance for him to go into a new game and be like a new star player and stuff. I would have liked to focus more on like himself rather than like his thoughts on like the game, because like yeah, he's excited for the game. He said that he wants to go pro in it, right? I feel like there was more interesting things you could have tackled here, but there's still looks like 45 minutes left in the or 20 minutes left in the interview, so. I don't really know if they do Q&A this entire time or like what, but
Curveball would be like the abilities and stuff, but I don't think that's something that's hard to learn.
How do you tackle that? Like, do you take a character? Do you take an agent? They're called agents. Pardon me. Do you take an agent and do you play one all day? Like, do you vary it up? Like, how will your grind look like if you were to imagine it?
I guess it depends. Everyone has their own ways of learning different things. I think what you said, like just playing an agent over and over and just getting them down, I think would be the most efficient way.
so he says the most efficient way is generally going to be one tricking. No, that's interesting though. He just said for a player who's looking to learn the game, if you are looking to play the game, Brax thinks that it's probably better for you to play one character to learn it more efficiently. But later in team play, I'm not sure if that's going to be 100% what you need to do. But like for climbing, it doesn't really make sense to differentiate your character pool.
So now that you've closed the chapter on your CS:GO career, how do you look back on it?
Um, Close the chapter. I'm definitely happy with my career, I guess. Obviously, I've made mistakes and stuff, but I continue to learn from them, and I just use them as lessons, and I'm definitely happy with where I'm at right now.
You feel like a better player and a better point in your career today than you did, say, even a year ago?
Oh, for sure, definitely.
And you feel in a much better place as well?
Oh yeah, for sure. I felt just stuck, I guess, in a way, probably like a year ago, up until I signed with T1. I didn't really feel like I was achieving anything or going anywhere. So
That's really interesting how quickly he would jump on this too, because he said that he just felt like stuck a year ago, right? So if you if you're playing a game and you feel stuck, and then you hear like a new game that is going to be very similar to the game that you are playing be announced, and it's just like, holy crap, dude! That like, the fact that he jumped on it, this is probably part of the reason, right? Like he says that he looks back on his CS career and he's like okay with it, but like I don't know, like after like all the match fixing and everything, like I feel like there's got to be some of that I have untapped potential here, right? The idea that he didn't get to do the things that he like was capable of, or that he felt like he was capable of. Like I find it hard to believe if he said like that there wasn't any regrets in his career, obviously. So for to be in like a place like this where a new game comes out and he's able to like go in on this, like that's got to be really exciting for a person like him.
I'm definitely.
Okay, so well, let's end it there. Why don't we just last question? Why don't you just for anybody that's watching this right now, that's a big fan of yours, that's looking forward to watching you grind Valorant, what do you have to say to them and your upcoming Valorant career?
Yeah, just thank you guys for supporting me. Uh, I hope to make you guys proud, and I hope you guys can support me and T1. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for watching.
Thanks a lot, Brax. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me on.
No, that's like pretty interesting to like just hear Brax talk and stuff and like see his like personality show a little bit. Like yeah, like people commented his smile and stuff. He seems like a really genuine kid. So I'm actually very excited to see Brax perform in Valorant. I don't really know much beyond the interview. I don't know if we honestly got like a lot of new stuff or like things to look forward within the game. But just being able to see Brax and see how level-headed he is with everything, like he's not going into the game being like, I am going to be the best player in the world. I'm going to take over the game, and I like nobody stands a chance against me, dude. All these abilities, they don't matter at all. These wall hacks and everything, this is stupid. Like he's not going in like saying all this like random stuff. He's coming in being like, yep, like I'm excited for the game. I hope I'm good at it. I'm excited to play with SKT. Yeah, I'm open to doing like I'm open to playing with Faker and stuff like that. I think that would be really cool. It seems like he's coming in mostly as a content creator for the game too, which is really cool. Like he might be coming in to like be a pro player, and he might be coming in to like be number one. But like realistically speaking, like I said earlier, it doesn't seem like being the number one player is 100% the best things for these esport teams. It seems like being an influencer is what a lot of people strive to. Like even when we talked to Noted, right? Noted said that he wanted to go in, he wanted to win a couple tournaments, and then hopefully like fall back and be like a streamer. Like that's what he would like to do. But like the takeaway for that for me was always I want to be an influencer. Like that's what I want to do. I want to play the game competitively to build up some respect and like some credibility. But like for the most part, I would like to create content for a living. I would like to stream and just be able to hang out and play games, play whatever I want, you know. And I think that Brax is totally capable of that. So I'm really excited to see what he does with it.